Ram Power Days is going on now with our most powerful lineup of trucks ever. Hurry in and don't just feel the power, own it. Right now, get 2.9% financing for 72 months on the 2022 Ram 1500 Bighorn Crew Cab. Don't miss this great offer. 2.9% APR financing for 72 months equals $15.15 per month per 1,000 financed for well-qualified buyers through Chrysler Capital regardless of down payment. Not all buyers will qualify. See dealer for details. Offer ends 10/31/2022.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the DTV Connoisseur Podcast. I am Matt, and as always, I'm joined by Jamie. Jamie, how are you this evening?
I'm doing very well. I'm really excited because I just accomplished something new, and that's always fun, like you always like to branch out and try new things, right? So I just, right before we started recording, just like the second before, I just uploaded my very first YouTube video.
No way! Your first, you mean...
Ever.
So since YouTube has been a thing, this is...
Yeah, I have never, ever, ever uploaded anything to YouTube.
So you just didn't... Now, how did it go? Is it still processing?
It's
live?
ready to go. Yeah, it's live now. I posted it on my Facebook page, so... And what it is it's actually, I made this little promo video for Brian's new book, Flesh Like Smoke, because there was an audio promo that I made to go on podcasts, and several of my podcasting friends are running that promo for me now, which is really awesome of them. But I wanted to see what I could do. Oh, all right. Well, then this whole thing. So after I did the audio thing, I thought, why don't we take a photo, like a little promotional photo? It'll be really cute, because because I have this werewolf mask. So I'm reading the book, and he's like scaring me from behind wearing this werewolf mask. And I was like, that's just really funny, so we did that. Well, then we did that, and I said, well, why don't I try to, because I've been wanting to branch out into YouTube. I've been wanting to do that, and I've never made a video to go on YouTube. I've never done that before. So what I did was I took some pictures of the illustrations that go in the book, along with the picture that we took, and then I laid the audio promo that I did on top of that, and that's pretty much all there is to it. It's not anything really fancy, but it's my first one, and so I think it turned out great. I'm so excited. So look for me to be doing more things on YouTube now, because I've had this channel for like 100 years, and I've never done anything with it.
Yes.
So, I'm just excited because I love learning and I love teaching myself new things and then doing something with it.
Right. That is really cool. See, now I, of course, I have a long and checkered history with YouTube. In fact, at this moment, I can't post videos on YouTube. At least the one associated with my Gmail, because I don't know if you know, when I first started doing my my blog, I was posting MST3K episodes, and I'd gotten kind of popular. My screen name, my username was Deep Cheeks. Which was an old joke that a friend of mine found, a porn movie called Deep Cheeks, and so that's what we called everything. So I was Deep Cheeks on YouTube for many years in the mid 2000s, posting episodes. Back then, yes, Brian, I'm talking about Love Me Some MST3K. Back then, you couldn't post anything longer than 10 minutes. So
right, I remember that.
Yeah, so I used Windows Movie Maker and would divide the episodes into 10-minute increments, and then put little blurbs about them, post them up there, and put a link to the blog. hoping people would get after it. Now I had already had a black mark against me because the very first thing I posted on YouTube when I got my YouTube account back in the mid 2000s was Alec Baldwin doing his character from uh, Glengarry Glen Ross on SNL. Do you remember that Glengarry Glen Elf?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
Coffee is for closers. Yeah.
exactly. So I posted the Elf version from SNL on there, and of course, I didn't know at the time, but NBC has a few people that just kind of scan YouTube looking for their
Oh
properties
yeah.
so they can bag you. So within 24 hours, I was notified that that was my first strike. So then I was posting the MST3Ks, and that went well for about 2 years. I had like well over like 1 million total views, and then suddenly I just got a huge string of emails telling me what it was it wasn't MST3K that bagged me. It was the people that own the rights to these crap movies that were decided they didn't want them up there. I'm not kidding. Like it was, people. And I mean, 'cause I think some of them were owned by places like Viacom and things like that that have, that do that kind of thing, that bag people. So that was strike two. I got rid of all my MST3Ks, and I occasionally posted some clips of ones for people. And then I posted Crispin Glover in Friday the 13th Part 4, dancing to that no way, not
Oh
tonight.
yeah.
Yes, I posted that, and that was it.
Totally unforgettable scene.
Yep, that was my last strike. So that's it. I do not have YouTube anymore. So
Wait a minute. What did they strike you for on that?
the owner of the movie did not want that up. Whoever owned the rights to the movie did not
Are
want
you
that clip.
serious?
I'm
I
serious.
See, there are Friday the 13th clips all over YouTube.
Well, they're doing all right so far, but yes, they may get nabbed at some point. So that was number 3, and that's it for me. I have
Wow.
I have like a private YouTube account for work where I'll post instructional videos. And actually that one is like associated with a Gmail that's associated with the direct-to-video Yahoo account that I have. So I'm not even sure if I could use my DTV Yahoo account to post them. I mean, the one thing I can do actually is I can post videos on my blog. So if I did make videos, I could do it that way. But yes, I mean, like,
that.
but 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 yes, but that is it is always exciting when you get your first one up there. So congratulations, and also that audio file you could always send that over here too, and we could play that before a show sometime too.
Oh, well, I even thought about that earlier, and then I got wrapped up in doing this and forgot to ask you. And so, whatever. But yeah, we can do it.
Yeah, we can stick it right. I mean, Brian could even email it right now. We could stick. No, I'm just. But yeah, but probably I'll be like we'll be talking about El Gringo, and I'll lose track of what of you. No.
But yeah, it's fun. It's exciting. I'm proud of myself. I'm only about a decade behind the rest of the internet,
Right.
but I mean, because there are like 6-year-olds with YouTube accounts.
My nephew.
I don't know if that's true, but I'm sure there are.
We were gonna start one for my nephew. He's 9. It would have been a private one again. So, but would have been essentially it would have been yes, a 9-year-old with a YouTube account.
No, and I mean, like I said, I've had the account forever. I've just never done anything with it, and I finally decided I'm gonna do something with it.
Yeah.
And so, this was like a learning experience for me. Plus, like hopefully, it will do something good for the book and for the publisher and for Brian. So, I mean, because it really is a good book. I know by now that people who listen to other shows or have seen my posts on Facebook will probably think I'm cramming it down their throat.
Mhm.
I am. And it's because this is an excellent book. It's really good, and I want people to know about it. Plus, I have a soft spot for werewolves. Anyone who knows that I do the show Liking It will understand that. So, there you go.
Yeah.
But, so that's all the excitement that I have for right now.
Brian just said, "Cram it, baby, cram it." Context is everything with the English language, isn't it?
It's true.
Yes, context is everything. Now, this film that we have tonight is not so. It has its share of the Spanish language in it. This movie, of course, I've never actually seen. I don't think I've ever seen this kind of inconsistency with the language used in a film before, where they apparently didn't want to use Spanish the whole time, but yet there were times where characters would speak in Spanish for long swaths and we wouldn't get subtitles, which I thought was interesting. Overall, though, I think this is what everybody's on the edge of their seats to know. Is the streak alive at 5? Jamie, what do you think?
I don't know, man. We might be split on this one. I have to say that you're right. in that it gets better toward the end, but I almost didn't make it through the beginning.
Yeah, it was a tough beginning.
I just don't know if I can, and I don't know if I can tell other people to do it. I really don't think I can.
This is the kind of movie that YouTube was actually made for, because if you could just take all of the Scott Adkins fight scenes and action scenes and put them all together into like a 10-minute YouTube package, that would be the movie for me. And I think that's what you really have to ask yourself, is that amount of, because I thought his fights were really good. And there were some scenes, some extended scenes especially, that were really good. But man, you're right. The beginning, I think we were chatting. I likened the beginning to that rambunctious, obnoxious kid that we all went to school with, who would just act up so crazily that we all just wanted the teacher to send him to the principal's office so we wouldn't have to deal with him anymore. That's how the movie started
I
out.
wanted to punch it in the face.
Yeah.
I did. The movie. I wanted to punch this movie right smack in the face.
Yeah.
Because it, God, it was annoying. It was like that little kid that sits behind you and pokes you and goes, hey, hey, hey,
Yes.
hey, hey. And I was like, stop it. Stop it with these, title cards flying at the screen.
God.
And, every time a new character is introduced, you do the whoosh,
Oh,
with their
that's
name
the
and
worst.
and I'm like, oh, stop it with your Guy Ritchie and your Tarantino and your whatever. I mean, anyone else you can think of that does that sort of thing, rip-offs, quit it. And then all right, during the first part, and I think they dropped this toward the end, which that's what made it a little more palatable. But in the beginning, especially during the fight scenes, there would be like a thing, like where it was like super, super quick cuts. Almost like someone's going at it with a Ginsu knife. And it would even make that sound. Did you pick up on those?
Oh,
it was like,
yes.
I can't even do it, but it was so annoying.
Oh.
And like, I like the fight scenes toward the end. Even in the beginning, they were on my nerves.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, I want to see Scott Adkins do martial arts.
Yeah.
That's why I want to watch him. And he didn't. But that's okay, because he's just a good action guy to watch. So I'm okay with that. But in the beginning, everything was so frenetic and everything was so hectic and everything was just so, I have so much style. You will be impressed with my style while I cram it up your ass. I mean,
Yes.
that's just what I was feeling from Rodriguez in this film. Eduardo Rodriguez, not Robert,
right.
Which is another one that I feel like he was influenced by. I felt like there was so much stuff that he was trying to cram into this movie, like so many ideas that he had as far as editing goes, that he forgot that he was supposed to be making a movie, like telling a story and keeping me interested. And it was like, what is this, like a demo video of everything you know how to do on Windows Movie Maker? I don't need that. I need to watch a movie. And toward the end, it seemed to settle down, which makes it kind of worse, because then it's really uneven. You have the front end is so packed full of all this other stuff, and then the back end not so much. So it feels like you're watching two different movies in a way. But there are some really fantastic action scenes. One where toward the end, where Scott Adkins did this awesome thing where he flipped up on top of this little roof. Mm-hmm. And he was just mowing people down, like shooting people. And then it was right before he got there was a grenade thrown at his feet. And so he did the dive with the grenade. That whole sequence, I really loved. That is the kind of thing that I was hoping for throughout the entire movie.
Yeah, I am with you on all of this. I'm gonna go back to those title cards. People who've read the blog for a while know that is a pet peeve of mine, and I know you've done some screenwriting. You know how the writing process goes. I mean, Brian obviously is a writer, who's in the audience. I have the philosophy about these title card things. If you are not a good enough writer to let us find out who these people are organically, then just don't write. Don't do it. And the reality is, in 90% of the cases, we don't need the title cards because we do learn who these people are organically, right? I mean, when you put up the title card of Christian Slater's character, what does that tell us? It tells us absolutely nothing. In some cases, they introduce people who died 5 minutes later. I mean, that's not doing anything for us. But, the people, we trust us. We are the audience. We will learn who these people are. Their names mean absolutely zero to us. We don't care what their names are. In fact, the main character is just El Gringo. We never know his name. So, I mean, why give us the title? And like you said, it interrupts the flow of the movie. I mean, there were so many crap things that interrupt. The one with the Acapulco, where he mentions Acapulco, and then they just show scenes of like the horrible.
I think Brian, during that specific one, I thought Brian was gonna like throw something at the TV because he was getting gradually more and more angry with this film, and he's just like, "This angers me." I mean, to the point where about halfway through, not even halfway through, I think a third of the way through, he decided to go take the dog for a walk.
That was it.
Because he's just like, I'm done. Have fun with this. And his whole point was that if you were unable, I mean, it's like you said, and he even used the word organic. And he's like, if you're unable to to introduce style or organically, and you have to force it, like it just feels so forced, then you don't know what you're doing, and you shouldn't be doing it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was during that Acapulco thing where I seriously thought that his shoe was about to go sailing toward the TV screen because he was just angry.
Yeah.
And I wasn't real fond of it either at that point.
No.
I was kind of pissed.
Yeah.
And I was getting worn out. I mean, that kind of thing, it's too much. It's like I'm being overstimulated.
Yeah.
And it's an action film. There should be plenty of stimulation in the action. You shouldn't have to pad it with all those things.
I agree completely about that part of it because when we think of Scott Adkins, the film that really kind of made Scott Adkins the podcast favorite, of course, was Ninja 2. And when you contrast those two styles, when you contrast Scott Adkins, Isaac Florentine, who directed that film, with Eduardo Rodriguez, who directed this one. Scott Adkins was all about the action, the fight scenes, making every fight scene pop. Everything was, and it was like, I'm only going to go so far before our next fight scene. This movie, Eduardo Rodriguez, it seemed like, in every case, he felt like, that uncle that you see at the party that you don't really want to see. He's probably not like an uncle by blood, right? He's usually like your aunt's husband. And he's really obnoxious, and he'll tell a bad joke and kind of hit you on the arm when he tells it, and you just kind of chuckle like, yeah. And then, of course, because you chuckled, he didn't get the hint that it wasn't a funny joke. He thought because you keeps telling it's funny, so he keeps telling the same joke over and over at whatever family function you're at, and still hits you on the arm when he tells it. You're just trying to get the hell away from him. Like
Yes.
the Acapulco joke was that for me. I was trying to think. Oh my God! Have you ever seen the movie Bound with Jennifer Tilly?
Holy crap! All right.
Yes.
Shout out to Alex Edwards, who's out there, who has it. He has this like severe thing about coincidences. Like it just blows his mind, when there's a coincidence.
Right.
Talk about this as a coincidence. I just talked about Bound on the show I did right before we recorded this one.
No way. That's because the reason why
I was talking about that movie about an hour and a half ago.
That is kind of crazy. That is because it's not one that it came out like in the mid '90s. I for the '90s for me was like kind of like a huge decade for movies, and I've always thought that one was one that kind of belonged with some of the better ones. But one thing I remember about that movie. And actually, Roger Ebert, when I read his review of it, he picked up on a similar thing where, I don't know if you remember how there was almost like this Marx Brothers-esque where's the bag kind of thing going on with the money bag, where it kept moving around the apartment complex, and 1 minute Gina Gershon's got it, and then, Joe Pantoliano's got it, and we don't know where it's going to go next, and who has it, and who, where is the money, where's it going? That movie did it so well, right? It was never like we were getting hit over the head with it. It was all about intrigue. It was all about keeping us in suspense. The way they did it, and when you think about a Marx Brothers movie, right? Of course, they're doing it for laughs, but it's the same idea. Every time the bag gets taken or gets moved, or the missing whatever the object is gets moved or hidden, and somebody needs to try to find it, we're laughing at it. We're enjoying the thing. This movie did it in the way that is annoying. Like, every time that thief took his bag, and what did she take it, like 3 times from him? 3 or 4 times?
Yeah.
I mean, it was just like, for God's sakes, you're doing, like, when he's sleeping on the bench and he wakes up in the morning and she steals the bag from him, I was like, really? You're doing this to me again? I mean, I actually said it out loud. I was watching the film by myself, and I said out loud, really? The cat kind of looked up like, what are you doing? What do you say? Why are you upset? It was that frustrating, and I think that really gets to where this film goes wrong, is that, whether it's the director, the writer, whatever went wrong in the making of this, it was like too much. Everything was too much, and that, I think, either that or the Acapulco joke, one of those two, was really that too much in there. And you can compare it with a film like Bound or a film like Ninja 2 or something like that, where whatever it was that was done was not done too much. It was done enough, and it was done organically. I guess we say that word again, organically, but I think it matters. It matters for things to be organic as opposed to just be thrown in there for the sake of being thrown in there.
I agree. I totally agree. And did you notice the little rattlesnake noises every time they showed the bag too? Brian comes back from walking the dog, and he's like, what is with the rattlesnake noise every time they show this bag? And I said, because there's rattlesnake in it. And he's like, really? And I said, no, not at all. I have no idea why there's a rattlesnake noise every time they show the bag. I have no idea.
Because every time there's a rattlesnake noise, you're supposed to go, oh, I get it. You like Westerns. Oh, yeah. I get it. You used to
every time you hear it in the soundtrack.
Right. Yeah.
Just like, I mean, yeah, it's pretty clear.
Yeah.
And I do too.
Right.
But I don't know, subtlety.
Yeah.
I should send that. Just make one of those, cut the letters out of the magazine letters.
Yes.
And
exactly.
just with subtlety, and just mail it to them and go, here. Well, because you try some of that.
Yeah, because that's what these filmmakers will say to us, right? That we don't get what they're doing, because we don't get the fact that this guy really likes Westerns, or this guy likes...
Someone who was blind, deaf, and dumb could get what he was doing.
Right, exactly. We get it. We are fans of these movies, too. We like Sergio Leone films. Or, me, I'm from Maine. Henry Ford is a fellow Mainer, so I have a special affinity towards his great Westerns. Just thinking about...
John Ford?
And Henry Ford is the one who does the cars. I just...
Yeah.
That has got to be... That is... I don't know where... I don't know if that's a... I've heard of that being a New England trait, that we just get people's names wrong all the time.
Really?
But it seems like it's a me trait for sure. I mean, that's another... Yes, whenever I get somebody's name wrong, that's when you have to, that's when you have to drink. But yes, John Ford, the director, not Henry Ford. Unfortunately, we can't claim him as a Mainer. But yes, yes, I get it. I'm a Western fan, or that the whole the gun fu type deal that he was doing, which I thought was great. I actually thought that was really excellent. But you don't have to tell me that it's, and luckily in that case, maybe they didn't hit us over the head with it being like, hey, this is John Woo kind of stuff here, and I think maybe if he done the rest of the film like he did that whole action sequence with the guns and the karate, or the kung fu. If he'd done the whole movie, approached the whole movie like that, and not tried to hit us over the head with these references, but just let us see them ourselves, I think we would have been a lot happier.
Oh, I just thought of one more scene that I really, really loved. And it was when, Scott's running through the streets. El Gringo is running through the streets. He stops and he picks up a bullet and he goes, armor piercing, And I'm like, okay, well, there's a reason you just told us that, And then he runs through an alley to the other end of the alley. And then 3 guys come running through this really narrow alley, like right behind him. He turns around and he takes one shot, and it goes through all 3 of their heads. Yes. And I was like, all right, that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm pissed at you, movie, but that was pretty cool.
I like that scene too. Well, this movie had its moments, and that's why I was torn, because there was a part, I'm on the fence, like, because Netflix doesn't let you do halves. I would give this film a 3. I would give it a 3. But that's kind of tepid, and especially consider the hour. I don't know, like the hours last week, it was probably like a 3.5, so I would have given it a 4. Whereas this would have been like a 2.5, so it gets bumped up to a 3. when I compare this one to The Hours last week, even though The Hours, this movie is more like the kind of films that the people who read the blog or listen to the podcast that we do, this is more of what they expect from us than The Hours. But The Hours, even though it's a departure from what we do, overall it's a much more competent film. It does what it's supposed to do much better, whereas this film, it just seems like a lot of times they were doing things for the sake of doing them.
Oh, and that's exactly how I felt about it. And I think that's exactly what it felt like. I mean, if you think of those scenes in Snatch where they're like getting ready to travel from like New York to London or whatever, and it's like, you know what I'm talking about? Like all of those, like pour the coffee, those really super quick cuts. That just loop that over and over and over and over and over again, and that's what I feel like the beginning of this movie was.
Yeah.
It was just constantly throwing things in your face,
Yeah.
and it was in the middle of a completely normal scene. They would inject something totally unnecessary, like the Acapulco thing.
Yeah.
And it was just because they could. I swear it was like he had just learned how to do some of these features. And he's just like, hee, like, he was just like a kid, like, I'm doing whatever I want, which is a shame because otherwise, this film looked good.
Yeah.
As far as the quality goes, the film quality, it looked pretty, It was really well done in that respect. I think the performances were fine. There wasn't a whole lot to this movie. There really wasn't room for anything. There's not room for a whole lot of character development when the characters are trying to fight off all the title cards that are flying at them. And, you don't have time for a lot of that. And so that's kind of a shame because I felt like all the gimmicks and the tricks that he was pulling, I really felt like it pulled away from the movie in so many other respects. But I kind of wonder if they were there because he doesn't know how to do anything else.
Right.
If you look up his credits, this was his second feature film, and then since then he's done one, and it was the sequel.
Yeah, it was a sequel, like not Fright Night, but something like that.
Oh yeah, it was the Fright Night 2.
Oh, it was Fright Night. Oh, the new Fright Night 2. That's right. Okay.
Yeah. So, and that's it.
Yeah.
And he hasn't done anything since then. And yeah. I mean, I don't know. Like, there may be a reason for it. It's just like, or he has a lot of style. If he could tone down on the style, like pull back on the style, maybe get a decent script in there.
Yeah.
Then I don't know. Maybe he could do something visually good. But I felt like this was really frenetic. It was really schizophrenic. It was just all over the place. There wasn't a very solid story because there really wasn't much room for one. There definitely wasn't much room for characters. And poor Christian Slater, who, what did his screen time clock in? Like 3 minutes, 42 seconds?
Right.
I mean, altogether, I kept waiting. I'm like, where the hell is Christian Slater? Like, he is in this movie, right? That's what they told me.
Right.
And then, finally he shows up, but we don't get to do a whole lot with him. And then, he's gone. I really do like Scott in this. Like, he is Scott. He's pretty much Scott in everything. And in this one, I think he was just as much Scott as he has been in anything else, which is fine with me. I like that. I like him. I want more of him. So as far as that goes, I think that's one thing in its plus column is that it did have a solid lead in him. I just wish that the movie that was surrounding him was more engaging.
Right. Well, like that's one thing, when I was learning to teach English, when I was going through my certificate course, one of the things that happened was I had I was doing one of my practice classes with two Russian students, and I was going through an activity, and they didn't quite just seem to get it, so I kept like kind of jumping in, or I was, and my teacher told me, like, don't do that. Just let them do their thing. Like you just need to get out of there and let them try to get their way through it first before you jump in. And I kind of felt like that's the same thing with Scott Adkins. Like, if you look at at Ninja 2, Isaac Florentine, who's worked with Scott Adkins on a lot of films. He's worked with I think four films at this point, 4 or 5. So he knows what Scott can do, and he knows to let him do it. Whereas this guy, it appeared that he knew what Scott can do, but apparently he wanted to show what he could do too, and he couldn't get out of the way. And I think the best directors on all levels are the ones who know how to get out of the way and let things happen. I mean, yes, you get guys like, Tarantino crams in a lot of things in his films, but he seems to do it in a way that's organic. It all fits, and maybe that's because he writes the script and directs the film, so he's able to make it fit a little bit better. But Scorsese will occasionally use his own little techniques, or people like Hitchcock. But for the most part, these directors, you think of all the real greats, even though they have their own style, they have a way of letting things happen. They have a way of letting their directors do what their actors do something that, even if they are micromanaging, even if they're, because I think Stanley Kubrick was a micromanager. Even if they're
yeah, quite.
Exactly. So even when they are micromanaging, when we see it on the screen, it doesn't look like that. It looks like things are unfolding in front of us organically, and that's not what we got here. Nothing was unfolding in front of us in any way. Everything was unfolding in a way that was just like completely like, it was almost like watching a movie with somebody who doesn't stop talking the whole time and keeps like hitting you on the arm and telling you, check this out, look at this part here, check this one out,
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It was like it was folding and then folding and folding back and unfolding and folding.
Yes.
You know those little things you make when you were a kid that's like, with the color, you pick the color and then you pick the number and it's like, you know what I'm talking about?
Mm-hmm.
Boys do that. I don't know. Girls do it.
Right.
But, and then like you unfold it and you get well, anyway, that's what, I don't know what the hell that's called, but it's like origami. It's like inorganic origami. That should be the name of this show. It's like, the title of this episode.
This episode, right.
It's inorganic origami. It's like forced folding and unfolding all over the place, and it's very tiresome.
Yeah. It's kind of a shame, because I like you said, Scott Adkins was good in this, and I guess we can be thankful this one's better than Legendary, right? I mean, that's...
Oh, well, that is true.
Yeah. I mean, but what does that mean either? I mean, this one, I do remember. I mean, I really liked the action sequences in it, but it just was. It was. I don't know. There was just too much going on. That was just like, it was like repetition. There were too many moments where our hero. Also, one thing I don't like in a movie. I enjoy if the hero can find his way out of a situation. Like if he's in a situation where people are he's outmanned. And so I like that he used his environment as a way to up the odds in his favor. He was able to use the buildings as protection and funnel guys into short areas so he could knock them out. I don't like it when our character gets lucky, when people shoot and miss him just for the sake of shooting and missing him. I also think it's a little weird when our character he gets saved multiple times by other people in the film. I like our hero to, I don't know. I want our hero to prevail because he prevails. And it just seemed like there was a lot of stuff going on where it was like, oh, someone's gonna almost kill him, but oh, somebody jumped in at the last minute, and that kind of thing gets old too, because we know the main character's not going to be killed off. It's not like, like midway through the film, the bad guy's gonna shoot Scott Adkins in the head and it's over. So there's no suspense there. But, what we like to see is we like to see how he gets out of it. And if he doesn't do anything to get out of it, that doesn't really do anything for us.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
Well, what's the point of having a hero if he's not being very heroic?
Right.
There was something else we watched recently where that was one of the things you pointed out, was that this person, I can't remember now what it was, but shoot. When I say recently, it means, since the show began.
Right.
Okay, not really. I think it was a few weeks ago. But whatever it was, your point was that this person never really did anything for themselves. They didn't, throughout the entire movie, they didn't do anything for themselves. So why exactly are they heroic?
Yeah, yeah.
It was their existence and their survival was dependent upon everyone around them.
Yeah, what one was that one? I know what you're talking about.
You do remember that, though, right? Okay.
Yeah.
I was just making sure I didn't make that up, because that's also a possibility.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, yeah.
Yeah, it's bad writing again. We're talking about the writing and problems with the writing. I think there were a few things wrong with the writing in this. I think that was one that our hero did not always have to think his way out of situations. In many cases, the situations resolve themselves for him, which is boring, right? If he's always going to be lucky, then what's the point of watching the movie? We want to see, it's what we always liked about MacGyver, right? Even if the show was completely full of shit, we wanted to see how he got out of the situation, and so we want to see the same thing with Scott Adkins. With whoever our hero is. But the other thing was the fact that we were getting repetition. That things were it's like the film was spinning its wheels to keeping the film was spinning its wheels just to prevent us from going ending at 75 minutes or 62 minutes, which is never a good thing either. You never want to be spinning your wheels. So it had a lot of black marks when it should have just been an excellent action film.
Yep, and I think maybe that was another reason that maybe he was just trying to stretch runtime, and that's why he did all the ridiculous bullshit. But if you don't have, just quit it.
Yeah.
Like if you can't tell a story, like I don't really see how it would be difficult to make a story or to make a feature-length film out of something like this.
Mm-hmm.
I do more with the. Yeah, I really thought the bus thing was really funny. How he keeps trying to get to the bus by 2:00. It's
right.
the only way out of that town, and it leaves exactly at 2:00, and he keeps missing the bus. I thought that was hilarious, and and there was one good time we had with that, and then it just, I don't know. I'm just tired. I'm tired. This movie made me tired.
Yeah, it was.
And then that whole thing at the end where, it was so pretentious with itself, or like during the credits.
Oh, yes.
When he goes, he's back at the bar and he asks for a margarita and she's like, oh, or she's like, oh, I thought you wanted a margarita. And he's like, oh, I thought you don't have margaritas here. And then they start talking about Acapulco. And then she's like, oh, by the way, what's your name? And then he's like, my name is, and we all saw this coming.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone saw this coming. And he's like, oh, my name is, and then it cuts to black. And immediately Brian goes, fuck you, movie. I agree with that because one, we all saw that coming. Everyone knew it was going to happen. But two, you didn't earn it.
You didn't earn it.
I really don't feel like this movie earned the right to be that pretentious or that, look at me, that self-indulgent. I don't think it earned the right to show us anything during the credits. I mean, how dare you assume that people are going to stick around that long?
Yeah.
Because most people probably aren't.
No.
And at that point, most people would probably say, I don't even give a shit what's happening during the credits. I'm done with this movie. I am not required to watch anything past this point. I'm done.
Well, and I mean, the movie just kind of goes through the same old trope of white guy in Mexico marries, Latina, beautiful Latina. Yeah. Same trope. Like, do we need to go? We get it. We've seen enough movies to know how this works, right? We've seen enough films with, Matthew Perry.
Go back to Magnificent Seven, where the guy, they go to the town. They're trying to save the town. They do save the town, and then the young guy ends up falling in love with the local girl, and he stays behind. It's the same thing, and we've seen it, and we've seen it a lot.
Yeah, we get it. She's the bartender, and she's got the low cut shirt and the long dark hair and the brown eyes. We've seen it however many times. She has a little bit of an accent, right? But otherwise she speaks English fluently, which helps, right? That makes it convenient for everybody.
And makes no sense considering this is a tiny little backwater town.
Yeah.
And in a place that is supposed to be not for tourists.
Right.
So, why exactly would you be so fluent and understandable?
Right.
With your English? You shouldn't be.
Right. And normally we let that go because we say, okay, they didn't want to do subtitles, so we're under the impression that everybody's speaking Spanish, but we're listening to it in English. Turns out that's not true either because the police officer goes on a long rant in Spanish, which we don't understand a word of unless you speak Spanish, but that made no sense either. So again, that was another I don't know, inconsistency in this film, which is really what we had, was just a whole series. It was like it seemed like maybe like when they were doing the dailies or the editing, it was just like they had a new person every day or something. I don't know what was going on. And Beefy Beard said we're making him dream about Salma Hayek, right? Think about You know.
I would have loved to have seen Salma Hayek. That would have helped.
Mm-hmm.
That would have helped.
She would have been, she would have been good as the villain. She would have been good as the villain. The guy that led the gang, perhaps even. She would have been great in that role.
One other thing I thought was humorous was when Christian Slater referred to one of the gang members as Skeletor.
Mm-hmm.
Because they were all wearing like the skull faces,
Yes.
and he
Yes.
called him Skeletor,
Yes.
and I thought that was funny.
Yeah, I mean,
But,
he was pretty good. I mean, his character was supposed to be a douche, which was good because he had the fedora on, so you needed that. If he's gonna be a douche, you got to go the whole way. I remember thinking about that because we didn't know right away that he was a douche. That's revealed. So sorry, spoilers. Christian Slater's character is not good. But I was a little suspicious when I saw the fedora, but I thought, this movie doesn't seem to get a lot of things right. So, it wouldn't be inconceivable that the people who made this, the people who made this, you get the kind of sense that they would think a good guy would wear a fedora anyway. So that's probably how they would have, you couldn't be sure, but it turned out they had it correct. Slater's character was not a good guy, and so he had the fedora. But he was good. He was good for the little bit that he was in it. But then, of course, you realize that, right? You're like, Christian Slater is good. He was good back in the '90s when late '80s, early '90s when he was first coming up, and we enjoyed watching him. And he still has that vibe to him. I mean, he had the voice. It's like, not quite Jack Nicholson, and remember the sheriff called everybody in the gang pendejos, and
yes.
he's like, "You hear that?
Hear that? You're all pendejos."
Yeah, I love that. I love that. I mean that was great. He was good. We could have used more of him, and we who knows? We don't really know why they only had so much of him. Beefy Beard said, "White guy in a fedora, always a red flag." Exactly. I remember Tumblr used to have there's a Tumblr that used to be out there. I don't know if it got taken down. It was fedoras of OkCupid, and it just showed all the douchey guys from OkCupid that were wearing fedoras, and it would like show clips of their profiles and the horrible things they said about what they wanted out of a woman that were just really chauvinistic and horrible. But that's I always associate fedoras with that. But no, I mean, I think, if we find out, if Eduardo Rodriguez comes forward and says, hey, I didn't want to do those title cards. I didn't do the Acapulco thing. It was whoever distributed the film came in and took the film from me and added all that crap after because they wanted the film to be longer and they wanted more to it. Or, we had some scenes we wanted to delete and they added them in after. Then I could accept it. I could say, okay, I mean, I'm not going to like the film anymore. But, I've heard of that happening where afterwards the people distributing it say this doesn't have enough this or that for our audience. It's not gonna do well on Redbook. Redbook. I even get the names of video rental services mixed up with magazines. I'm doing pretty well today. I've got car manufacturers and movie directors mixed up, and now magazines and rental. Movie rental places, but like that's the thing. Like I've heard, I think Albert Pyun was talking about that with his film Tales of an Ancient Empire, that Lionsgate went in and messed with the film before they sent it out, and so he wasn't that happy with that. Maybe that happened here, but something tells me that isn't what happened here. Something tells me that this was like, I want to show you how many movies I've seen, and I'm going to put them all in here at one time.
That you nailed it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think you did.
Yeah, and I mean, we're doing a podcast where we talk about movies. You do plenty of other podcasts where you talk about movies, and we all, talk with other people who do blogs and other podcasts that talk about movies. We know a lot of people that have seen a lot of movies, and it's not really anything special that you've seen a lot of movies because we've all seen a lot of movies. So you're not impressing us if you've seen a lot of movies.
Yeah, that is an excellent point too. Is that it's I'm not going to be blown away because of all these things you did. As a matter of fact, I'm sitting there picking out where you got it from and thinking, well, you took this from this and this from this and this from this and that. And exactly how am I impressed by that? Because all you did was regurgitate what 50 other filmmakers have done before you.
Yeah. That's the key. You don't want to be regurgitating, right? You want to be or you don't want to be derivative or regurgitating or just having it there for the sake of having it there. You want to be influenced by. And that's what we want to see. We want to see you influenced by, not regurgitating or, just rehashing.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with
right.
being influenced by something or being inspired by something. Don't get me wrong. I don't. I mean, all right. I am a huge Tarantino fan, and there is that whole camp of people who accuse Tarantino of doing nothing but rehashing what filmmakers before him have done. He's a big spaghetti western fan. I mean, it goes on and on. And people love to point out where he got certain things, whereas I, being a fan, say no, 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 they're homages.
Right.
But I think that there's a difference because along with all of that, and Rodriguez too, as in Robert,
Yes. Yes.
along with all of the things that they pull from other places, they also add their own, and they add their own spin on it. And nobody does fucking dialogue like Tarantino.
Yes.
No one. And he didn't get that from anyone. That's him. So, I think that there's a difference between showing your love and appreciation for something or calling back to something. And he doesn't ever try to hide it. He's not like, if someone ever brings it up, he's like, yeah, this is where that came from. Or hell, half the time he'll tell you before anyone even asks, because these are like his love letters to what got him into the business. And maybe for this, it's true. Maybe that's true too. But it just doesn't seem as obvious because I don't see any originality to go along with all the other stuff.
Right.
I don't see anything that's clearly him, that's brand new, that makes me say, wow, he took this stuff and ran with it, and look what he did. I'm not saying that. I'm saying, wow, look at all this stuff that he did.
Right. Well, the one scene that we could maybe make that case for is that big shootout in the town where Adkins is being pursued by the gang, and he's sort of playing both cat and mouse. Right. He's the hunter and the hunted, and he's using the whole space, and you get some really nice fights, some nice gun fu, really great effects too, like some heads blowing up and some nice shots. So some really good special effects there. That's the scene where you're not saying that he's just shoving John Woo at us. That's the scene where you're saying, like, no, he's influenced by Woo, but he's created his own thing here. And I think so much of the film isn't that. And you make a great point about Tarantino, is that he is influenced or pays homage to these things, but also, like you said, he writes great dialogue. I mean, every time he has a new film out, I think, or at least his last couple, he was at least nominated, if it didn't win, Best Screenwriting Oscar. Which I think is a big deal if he does it, because his films are not the kind of films that the Academy usually will flock to. I mean Woody Allen can put out a film every year and it's going to get nominated. But and Brian just made a great point. He does more than cut and paste, which I think is what we were talking about with the Windows Movie Maker effect that this film had. Is that it did feel like it was more cut and paste than something that was organically, or that was just original, that had a level of originality as it was constructed. And this film misses out on that, and it's just too bad because, I talk about all the time about the action films that we grew up with, like even the low-budget ones from places like Cannon Films, Golden Globe was produced, PM Entertainment. They would have been all about the Scott Adkins scene there. But then they would have taken a whole bunch of that crap out. I never saw a PM Entertainment film that had title name title cards thrown in, or any crap like that. They had your basic film score, which this film had bad music in it too. They had your basic film score with some sax, some electric guitar here and there, a lot of sax in the perfunctory love scene, of course. And then you could take those PM Entertainment films, could take a Wings Hauser and make him a great action star. You gotta love Wiggs. But this film, it has Scott Adkins, who is commanding the screen. He's doing what he's supposed to. But instead of just like going back to what worked in action films, they're trying to add this other crap in, and it doesn't work. And it ultimately diminishes what was good about it, which is the thing you don't want. And like Brian said, he's no Reb Brown. It's a good point. He's no Reb Brown, which this film could have used some Reb Brown as well.
Ah! Yep.
Well, Jamie, what do you think? Any final words as we put El Gringo and, unfortunately, our streak to bed?
Now, I am pissed at this movie for ruining my streak. That's what I'm mad about.
Yeah.
Again, I think I will punch this movie in the face.
Yeah.
I'm going to pull up Netflix and
give it
just punch it in the face.
Give it a solid smug. I mean, I was thinking about it, and I was like, boy, because I liked there were a lot of things that I liked about the film, but I realized I was like, if there were no streak involved, I would have said this was a no go, and so I have to continue with that. I can't try to prop up a streak, and of course you didn't like it anyway, so it wouldn't have been a true continuation of the streak. But when we think about the films that we've had that have worked in this streak, when we think of course Zombievers, totally inspired, really original, all around great film. We look at The Hours last week, which was just completely different, complete departure from what we usually do here. But even with Paul, not Scott Walker, in the lead, I mean, even with him, I mean, here we have the complete opposite, right? We have a guy in Paul Walker that we never would have expected to pull that film off, and he does a really great job. And the director did trust him. The director did let him do it, whereas this film had an obvious lead, who should have been the focus. He should have been the one doing the heavy lifting in this film, and instead the director just couldn't get out of the way. We look at The Prince, right, which was one that we didn't see. None of us saw that one coming as a good one, and that was Jason Patric. Again, another guy we wouldn't see in an action lead, who completely nailed it. And I don't remember Jason Patric ever having a part in the movie where he was lucky, right, where somebody saved him. He managed to find his way out of all of his situations, which was good. And I was trying to think what the other, of course, was The High Lane, which, again, was just that's when you think about, actually, we don't think of something that might have been derivative, right? With The Descent. And yet, despite the fact that it had those elements of being derivative, it still was entertaining for us, and it still worked on a lot of levels.
Yeah, I agree.
So I
agree with all of that.
Yeah, so that's it. We are officially done. Hopefully next week we'll start a new streak. I also realized this is episode number 50 for us. So we have officially 50 episodes in the can right now.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
I know, kind of a milestone episode for us. Fortunately, we didn't have a better film, and maybe I should have found a classic or something so we could add a ringer. But I feel like to have a ringer keep our streak alive might have been a bad one. Beefy Beard talked about Speed 2. Yes, that was a Jason Patric classic. That was I think at that point he had like, what was the deal with him in Speed 2? Was he like still was he still a big deal at that time, or was he kind of like being propped up when he did Speed 2?
I didn't even see Speed 2.
No, me neither.
I don't know. And I don't remember when it even came out and what was going on with Jason. All right, with Jason Patric at that time, the last thing I remember him doing around before that, I think, was Rush.
Right.
And then, like, he, for me, just disappeared for a long time until we just saw him again recently. It's like he just kind of fell off the map as far as I was concerned. I mean, he may have been doing things I just didn't notice.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, that was a fascinating thing. It's and I don't think either of us expected that at all. I think you liked it, and maybe that helps. I mean, I think The Hours, though, I think we both went into that one with expectations. But The Prince, I was kind of thinking, I've seen enough of these New Orleans or Detroit DTV actioners. I've seen enough of them in my time to know that they usually aren't very good. But I was taking a chance on that one, Erasure style, taking a chance on it, and it worked out. It was actually, when I say Erasure style, they covered the ABBA song "Take a Chance on Me." It was never Erasure's song, and so I completely butchered that "Take a Chance on Me" joke. But anyway, but yeah, I mean, I'm kind of curious. I did see some other Jason Patrics out there, so I'm kind of curious to see what happened. But yeah, so. Where were we? Oh, because Beefy Beard injected that thing about Speed 2.
Speed 2,
yes,
yeah.
And Jason Patric. So, yes. Well, Jamie, as we're wrapping up here, beyond your first foray into YouTube this evening, what else have you had going on?
Yay me! I'm still kind of high on that. Well, tonight I did my first recording as a member of the Cinema Beef podcast, where, because, sometimes you're just not doing enough podcasts. But Gary, who is also Beefy Beard, who's right here tonight.
Thank you, Beefy Beard.
He has been a listener of ours in the past. And he has been running this show for quite a while. And he, approached me and offered me the chance to join him on this show, and I was like, why not? Because this is another show that does that, like, genre hopping, like it goes all over the place. So, I mean, for instance, I just said tonight we talked about Bound, and on the same episode we talked about Bound and Straight Jacket
Mm-hmm.
and Feeling Minnesota.
Mm.
So it's all over the place. But the running theme went there was cheating.
Oh, okay.
So, you know,
Yeah.
they are connected. It's just you have to kind of figure out why. But so that's a fun thing. It was a fun show, and I did my first episode there. Well, my first non-guest episode. I have been on that show before,
Mm-hmm.
just as a guest, but this is my first time as Gary's co-host. So everyone look for that and check that out. Other than that, Skeleton Crew, all of the episodes of our retro have finally dropped, our Nightmare on Elm Street retrospective, so you can listen to all of those if you want to at Horrorphilia. And then Evil Episodes, you know, we're still pumping away. We're going to be recording a new one this week where we're going to be talking about the brand new Sharknado 3.
Ooh, when is that coming out?
Yeah, probably the movie.
Yes.
This week I want to say tomorrow night.
Oh, okay.
I think it's premiering tomorrow night. Wait, is this Wednesday? Yeah. Okay, so I think it's premiering tomorrow night on
Okay.
Sci-Fi. And so we will be recording, I think, Friday night. And so next week when that show drops, you can hear what we all had to say about Sharknado 3. Oh, hell no.
Right. Yes. Now I'm curious to see what happens with that because you know, I am you know, I have or we have both together. You and I have both instituted an asylum ban on this show. So I guess that's one. You know, you're going to have to let us know if it's worthy of ending the ban.
I doubt it.
Right.
I'm really not looking for. I mean, I kind of don't even want to watch it. Not
Right.
kind of. I really don't want to.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just like, God damn it, do we really have to?
Mm-hmm.
Because the second one, it was kind of fun for a few minutes
Right.
with all of the cameos and everything. But, you know, just after a few minutes in, the joke was old. I was tired of it, and the rest of the movie just did not support it.
Right.
And I don't see this one being any better.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
I don't really want to. But, you know, sometimes you do what you got to do.
Mm-hmm. Well, you let us know. Report back to us on you know, or report back to me. Actually, nobody else is gonna know if Jamie says it's bad. We're gonna bury it right there. We're not because we ever since now. What was it? The Abe Lincoln film, right? Was that the one that we instituted the asylum ban, or was it even before
Yes.
that? Yeah, it was the yeah.
Well, I think we had talked about it briefly
Yes.
before that, but
Yeah.
that one was the nail in the coffin right there.
Yeah.
That one was just like, oh, the hell with you.
Yeah, we decided no more and so this is probably the only one that could potentially. There is one movie that I would like to do. If they ever put it back on Netflix, and that's the Bigfoot with Barry Williams and Danny Bonaducci, and also
I
Sherilyn
actually
Fenn.
liked that one.
Yeah, me too.
I liked that movie.
Yeah, so if that one ever comes back on, that's one that I would suspend the ban for. I wouldn't lift the ban. I would suspend it for something like that. And like you said, you enjoyed that one too, so I think it would be like it would be a ringer in that sense because we both enjoyed it. That we would put on there, but I think that's about the extent of it. Maybe the one that had Tiffany and Debbie Gibson. I think that was like something versus Gatoroid, like Mega Crocodile versus, I don't know, Mega Python versus Gatoroid or something. That one might be kind of a fun one to be able to talk about those two. But overall, yeah, I think our ban, having that ban in place, has been a good thing for the show.
Oh, well, it's definitely been a good thing for me.
Yes, it's been a good thing for me too. And I can think of another person that it's been really good for, and he's in the audience as well tonight, Brian. He appreciates that we have instituted an asylum ban, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah, and he might be instituting it. I don't know if he had his way. I don't know what we'd be doing if we'd be watching nothing but Reb Brown, and
Right.
which honestly would not hurt my feelings. Like if we ever morphed into a strictly Reb Brown podcast,
Mm-hmm.
I'd probably be all right with that and be like, oh, the Reb Brown show.
I know. I was going to say, if we do another Reb Brown, we should try to get Rich Pierce on here, who we had on before, because he talked about how he actually corresponded with Reb Brown.
Oh, that's right.
I know, that would be fun with him, because he kind of got his start, I think, reviewing Reb Brown movies at his university. So yeah, I think that would be kind of a fun thing too. We do need to. Reb Brown is a guy we've only had him on here once, right? For Robo War.
Howling 2.
Oh, that's right. We did Howling 2. That's right. Yes, that was. I forgot. That was the week. Was that the week? Howling 2. Is that the one where I thought, or you thought we were doing the shooter maybe, and I thought we were doing something else. I think I just gotten back from the wedding, from getting married.
Yeah, and we just said, "Fuck it, let's do this."
We'll just we we had our wires crossed, or maybe I thought we were doing the. I think maybe you thought we were doing shooter, and I thought we were doing the Aaron Eckhart movie, Erased, and the whole thing just fell apart on us.
And then we ended up doing both of those anyway.
Right.
But shoot. Oh yeah, I have a friend who just he just does a strictly Eric Roberts podcast. Yep. It's called Eric Roberts is the fucking man, and that's the name of the show, and that's all he does is Eric Roberts movies.
Wow.
So you could do it if
yes.
Although I think that we'd run out of material kind of quickly, probably. I don't know exactly how many movies he has under his belt. Reb Brown, and then how much screaming can you listen to? But
right. Well, Eric Roberts, just based on Eric, based on Eric Roberts' future, in production credits on IMDb. You've got years worth of material just based on that alone.
Well, that's true. And you could even break it down into sections like movies with Eric Roberts' cry face.
Mm-hmm.
Movies that don't have Eric Roberts' cry face, which I think there are actually fewer of those, because I wanted to say he does that wet face cry in just about everything.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, I don't know what I'm talking about Eric Roberts for, but anyway.
Well, because of that podcast. That's Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of a fun idea, though.
Yeah, I definitely like the idea of something. Well, it says he has 59 credits, so. There's plenty, but of course some of them are movies that are not easy to find. That's the one problem with Reb Brown. You got to pray to the YouTube gods that they've got them up there. So that's what you'd have to do. Now that reminds me, because I've covered a fair amount of films on the Reb Brown. Legendary. The blog, I should be updating it soon. Maybe tonight when we're finished here.
What?
I might write I've got some free time tonight. I might just hop right on there and just bang that out. Scott Adkins has inspired me to get back on my blog. So
good for you.
Yeah, so hopefully for everybody else, by the time you hear this, there is a new blog post up. Cross your fingers. Let's see. Oh, Your Hunter of the Future, Brian mentioned. I have reviewed that one on the blog. I used to own it. I used to have it. It was on Turner Classic Movies. And somebody had taped it and ripped it, and I had a copy of that. But I don't know if I have it anymore. But Your Hunter from the Future, Jamie, that's one that you would really enjoy from Reb Brown.
Wait, I want to say, I don't think I've seen it, but I want to say I recently saw a clip from that movie.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's what I'm thinking of, it looked awesome.
Yeah. If we can track down a copy of that, that might be a one that would be worth checking out for the show. I would love to revisit that one again, definitely. Oh, Brian says you did see a clip of it. He remembered that.
All right, then yes, I do want to see that, because I remember thinking at the time, I don't know what this movie is, but I have to see it.
Yeah. That one is a good. Actually, I had somebody email me because when I reviewed that blog, when I reviewed that movie, and I got the screenshots from that version from Turner Classic Movies, somebody asked me for a copy of it. They were like, can I get a copy of that? Because I have all these different copies, but I've never had the TCM cut or whatever, which was, I guess, special, or this person's collecting versions of Your Hunter from the Future, but I never replied. I didn't know what to say to that.
Oh.
Yeah. It happens.
No, I just thought of something funny.
Mm-hmm.
Is that I'm talking to my boyfriend via you.
Right.
And he's like 16 feet away in another room.
Yes. Yes. Oh.
But you're relaying messages.
Right. I see them on my screen, like, because when because I have the Mixler thing open. Whenever he or Beefy types something into the chat on Mixler, it pops up on my screen, and then I just I could always relay it to Yes. So now
that's just funny, I think.
Yeah. Beefy just said that Your comes in a 2-pack with Krull the Conqueror. So not Krull. Kull the Conqueror. Krull, just Krull. Did I miss those up?
I think you got it right. I think it's
Is it?
just Kroll
Yes,
and then
Kull the Conqueror.
Cole. I think so.
Yeah, but I did say Kroll the Conqueror to start with, just in case.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But
So
you fixed it.
yeah, if you're playing the DTV Connoisseur podcast drinking game, that is another name that I got wrong. So you do have to drink at that point. So if you all right, well. So Jamie, did we cover all of your podcasts, or I think we kind of jumped in the middle there talking about something else. I don't remember.
No, we're good. I think I got everything out there.
We got it through. And so, again, I'm hoping to get back on the blog. What else did I want to announce? Oh, I wanted to mention Ty from Comeuppance Reviews. Facebook just told me that his birthday was 2 days ago. So happy birthday, Ty. Guest on our show a couple times. And if you haven't, check out his blog. Him and his brother Brett have a really great blog. Comeuppance Reviews. And that's the name right there, comeupancereviews.com. And if you don't, you can always go to my mattmovieguy.com blog, and his link is right there. But a great site. Talks about a lot of really great action films. If you like Reb Brown, he's got plenty of Reb Brown on his site as well, too. So happy birthday to Ty, and hopefully we'll get you on the show again as well, too.
Yeah, happy birthday, Ty. I would love to have you back.
I know. I know. It's been a while. I think they were our last guest, weren't they, when we talked about Tai Chi Man?
So, yeah.
Yeah. What was it? Tai Chi Man? Man of Tai Chi?
Yes, Man of Tai Chi.
Right, with Keanu Reeves.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So that was back in the winter, I believe. It's been.
Yeah, I think I was still fussing about being brand new around here and stuff.
In Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
Good old Michigan. Now you're full-fledged Michigonian. Is that what they're called? Michigonian?
Michigander.
Michigander.
Yeah.
Are you picking up the accent yet?
I don't think so.
No.
But I do feel really at home here.
Yeah.
Now. It's a nice place. I love it. So
yeah.
I'm very happy.
I have the only time I've ever went to Michigan, I went to the Detroit airport, and that one was not very nice. They were not, I don't say the airport wasn't nice. The people were not very nice. But that was the only time I've ever been to Michigan before. So I can't really say I've been, right. You haven't officially been to a place if you've only been to the airport, right?
Well, that's right.
Yeah.
Most people here are very nice. They have a bunch of asshole drivers, though.
Yeah.
I don't know what that's about, but it is the Motor City, so what are you gonna do?
Right. They feel like they invented it, right?
Yeah, for some strange reason.
They drive like they invented the thing. Yeah. Yeah,
act like you made it.
Yeah, act like you made cars. What's going on with you crazy people? Yeah, we have some rough ones here where I live in Delaware County, but I know like the worst ones are considered like Massachusetts drivers. They're known affectionately as massholes. So I think
nice.
Yeah, it would be interesting if they did like a competition between bad drivers. What state has the worst drivers?
I'll tell you what, Atlanta has some really bad drivers. But the thing is, the majority of them are transplants.
Yes.
Because Atlanta is such a hub for every major corporation. It's like everyone has an office there, and then there's Hartsfield, which is a huge international airport. I mean, they're just constantly people from everywhere in that city. That when you're driving downtown, most of the people that you're driving next to aren't even from there.
Yeah.
Or they have recently moved there from somewhere else because of business.
Yeah.
So it's just a conglomeration of shitty drivers and assholes.
Right. They just take all of the. Well, that's probably what it is. It's probably like all the shitty drivers from the other parts of the country who couldn't get a license. Maybe like Georgia has some kind of rule.
They'll just say, "I will take anybody."
Yeah, they let you have more points on your license or something, and people just go and drive there after having all of the losing their license in another state.
It's like the Australia for American drivers.
Right, exactly. Yes. It's the Dan Under. I'm going to Dan Under in Atlanta. I love driving in Atlanta. Right, well, I guess at this point, if we haven't officially offended the drivers of enough states in the country, maybe we ought to call it a night before we do get to everybody. I know we leave South Dakota out. I've heard you guys are pretty good for driving, but
yeah, I'd make fun of Nebraska, but I don't think anybody even lives there, so
no.
I'm sure they don't have a driving problem.
No, they've got a football team there, as far as I know. Big 10 football in Nebraska. It used to be the Big 12. That's their claim to fame, I think.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, and corn.
Corn. Yeah. That, so there we go. We just nailed. We just can tick Nebraska off the list for states that we have insulted so far. Anybody from Nebraska, in the great state of Nebraska, go ahead. Drop us a line. Let us know what things are like there in Omaha, fair Omaha, this time of year.
Very plain, I think.
Yes,
all the streets are right angles. It's like a grid. Like the whole, like it's laid out like a grid.
Mm-hmm.
You have letters going one way, numbers going another way. It's all very orderly and very flat and no trees.
I was going to say, I think Willa Cather's from Nebraska.
Yeah, I think that's right.
There we go. So you one of the greatest authors, one of the greatest American authors. You've got that as a feather in your cap. You've got that over Maine. We've just got Stephen King, so you've got that over us.
Oh, is that all?
Yeah, he's our.
I've had Margaret Mitchell.
Is she from Maine?
No.
Oh, you do. Oh, right. There you go. Gone with the Wind. Yes, there we go. Yeah. See, every state's got something nice about it, don't they?
I guess if you consider that nice, I don't know. I mean, I don't even know how people feel about that work anymore.
That's right. Not so good.
I still love the movie though. I can't help it. I love that movie. It's a beautiful movie. I mean, as far as like it just it's stunning. But
yeah, but it's problematic. That's the problem. Yeah.
It is.
It's great, but problematic. Yeah. So I think as long as you recognize it, as long as you're Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. As long as I am aware that there are issues with me liking this movie, yeah.
That's enough. Yeah.
Right, we're babbling.
I'd say yeah. We've essentially done what the movie did, right? We did the credits thing. We just kind of so maybe we'll call it a good.
So what's your name, by the way?
Yes, it is. All right, we're gonna call it good. No, I'm just kidding. Yes, I was gonna cut it off. Well, again, thank you all for listening. If you are still listening at this point, and come join us next week. Hopefully, we'll start a new streak next week, and hopefully, we'll have something a little bit better for you than El Gringo.
El Gringo.
El Gringo. Have a great.
Go pendejos.
Go pendejos. No more pendejos. Pendejos. All right. Have a great week, everyone.
Bye.
Mary redeemed a $50,000 cash prize playing Chumba Casino this year.
I was only playing for fun, so winning this was a dream come true.
Chumba Casino is America's #1 social casino experience. It's serious fun. With over 80 casino-style games to choose from, you too could win life-changing amounts of cash. Be like Mary. Log on to ChumbaCasino.com and give them a whirl. That's ChumbaCasino.com. No purchase necessary. Void or prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details. The voice in the preceding commercial was not the actual voice of a winner.